In this sequence here, we see a pattern that from 4 to 2.5, we're subtracting 1.5. And from 2.5 to 1, we're subtracting 1.5. And so on. Each of these steps, we're subtracting 1.5. So to continue, if I want to get this next spot here, I take negative 2 minus 1.5 is negative 3.5. And then if I subtract another 1.5, I get negative 5. And subtract another 1.5, and I get negative 6.5. So those are my next 3 terms in the sequence. The common difference, of course, is the number that I'm adding from term to term, which is a negative 1.5. Negative 1.5. Okay, the recursive function is where we write a term using the term before it. So the nth term, f of n, is the previous term, which is f of n minus 1, and then minus 1.5. And with each recursive function, we give a starting value. So our first term, f of 1, is 4. Finally, for our explicit function, if we look at a table of values, we can find that fairly easily. For n being the term number, and f of n being the value of the term, if we look at the first few terms, 1, 2, 3, and 4, well, the first term is 4. The next term, I'm not going to write it as 2.5. I'm going to write it as 4 minus 1.5. And 3, the third term, I'm going to take the term before it, and then minus 1.5. And then for our fourth term, we take the term before it, and then subtract 1.5. So I start to see here a pattern, and what we're going to do is take this repeated number that keeps showing up, and we'll write it in a condensed form. So this is 4, and then we're subtracting 1.5 times a certain number. Well, here it's times 3, and here it's minus 1.5 times 2, and then up here I've just got one of them, so 4 minus 1.5 times 1. And finally, up here, we don't actually subtract it at all. So we could write that as minus 1.5 times 0. And we can see now this structure showing up the same in each of these. So if I'm looking for a formula for the nth term, I see I always have 4, and then minus 1.5 times something that's changing. Well, that thing, since it's changing, means I need to represent that using a variable. I already have a variable right here. The variable I'm using is n. And so I need to relate n to that number. Well, I can see that this number is 1 less than n, or in other words, mathematically, n minus 1. Now I've got a formula. That is my explicit equation. F of n equals 4 minus 1.5 times n minus 1.